Okay, so before I get into the review, just so you guys know, back in the last video, I told you on how I'm going to go about, at least for the first arc of Katekyo Hitman Reborn, where I'm not going to do all the chapters of the daily life arc, given the fact that it is very repetitive. Um, Very repetitive. The jokes don't land the second or third time again, and it's just like, I get it. It was more like to introduce several of important characters that are going to be reoccurring in the series. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on those particular characters, the chapters that they're introduced in, and because those characters are going to be introduced and used in the later arcs, the more important action-packed arcs, including Suna's guardian, Suna's family. Okay, so I'm going to focus on those chapters. Of course, there's going to be one particular character that's not part of Suna's family, but he was the forgotten character that got X'd out of the anime. So I will go and talk about him a little bit. The chapter that he's introduced, talked about, and I'm talking about Longchamp. So to get started with chapters 3 and 5, because those chapters are focused on the introduction of Gokudera Hayato and Yamamoto Takashi. So Gokudera was actually made a cameo back in chapter 2, but this is his introduction arc. So in this chapter, Gokudera is finally introduced. He came straight from Italy. He's a transfer student, and majority of the classmates, particularly the girls, are fascinated by this new transfer student. He finally came back home after living abroad for how long? And of course, Suna is like, okay, we got a new transfer student. He's from Reborn's homeland. And automatically we have where Gokudera is glaring the hell out of Suna. And Suna's just like, I never met this kid a day in my life. Why is he looking at me like that? And he bounces into Suna's desk. He's just like having problems with Suna. Now, this may have rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, given the fact that he's completely different. In later chapters, his introduction arc was like he's picking on the weakest kid in the school, having problems with him. And then come to find out he wants to fight Suna. So you're just like, what the hell? And the reason he wants to fight Suna is because he kind of made a bet with Reborn, right? He's like, if I kill this kid, can I become the 10th Vongola boss? And then Suna's like, are you really betraying me, Reborn? You're going to let some random dude come and murder me to just get this position? So we have where Gokudera is throwing dynamite. Mind you, he is known as a human explosive, aka Smoking Bomb Hayato, because he contains how much dynamite's hidden on his body. And I always found that to be comical. And just going back to reread this chapter, I just found like how ridiculous it is, because dynamites are not small little, I mean, probably they do have small ones, but the amount that Gokudera conceals on his body, and you can't tell that he has any on him. It was just plain funny to reread this particular chapter. So he's throwing all these dynamites at Suna, trying to kill him, blow this poor kid up. This kid is stressed out of his mind. It's like, what am I going to do? He gets stuck in a dead end because he's running away from the bombs, and then he gets shot by Reborn because he's like, I don't want to die by these bombs, so I'm going to defuse all the bombs. So in dying will mode, he's defusing all the bombs before they can fully explode, and then Gokudera is like, I need to go blow this guy up. So he's doubling and tripling the amount of dynamite he's going to use, but unfortunately one or two of them drop, and he's like, I can't defuse that because I'm carrying so much and this is the end for me. Luckily, Suna was able to defuse all of them before it can actually kill Hayato, and he's like, you're worthy. You are worthy of becoming the 10th Vongola boss. I doubted you because I was testing your strength. What a way to test someone and to see if they're actually good in what they're about to do by trying to kill them. Okay? And he wasn't really gunning to take the seat, but he just wanted to see what type of person Suna is, and to realize that Suna went out of his way to protect him and keep him alive. he now says, I want to follow you. I'm part of your family. You are worthy. And it just really ends off where there was some like bullies in the school that tried to attack Suna. And then we have our Gokodera, who is known as the right-hand man of the Vongola for the 10th boss. He does what he does best. He fights off Suna's enemies. He protects him from any incoming danger. So it was a very straightforward chapter. It was just like really Gokodera just trying to see what type of person he will be following in the future. And mind you, Gokodera was originally in another mafia family until he decided to join the Vongola. Now, chapter 5 is the introduction for Yamamoto. Just so you guys know, after Suna, Yamamoto is my favorite character. Like, I do love Gokodera, don't get me wrong, but I love Yamamoto. So after the whole fiasco with, Gokodera and the bombing and him becoming his so-called right-hand man, we have where Yamamoto, who is one of the most popular kids in school, is as well as being on the baseball club, he's introduced and they're having PE. Nobody wants Suna on the team because even though he did what he did with Mochita back in the first chapter and with the volleyball match, they deem him still no good when it comes to every other sport. But clearly from the first time that Yamamoto is introduced, he was always viewed as a very optimistic, very fair and gentle type character, and a very funny guy. Okay, he always looks on the bright side of things, and he's like, yo, let's Suna join my art team. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Even though the team still lost and they're telling Suna, go clean up the field by yourself, you suck and all of that, we still have Yamamoto, the good guy, a legit good guy, come and help Suna. Now, I think a lot of people tend to forget this about Yamamoto, but like, despite all his optimism, despite him being good nature and all of that, Yamamoto is someone that cares about stuff, anything that's important to him, very deeply. And if he feels like something is clouding that, something is, distracting him from it, I guess that's not even the right word for it, but if he feels like something is hurting it, he can get pretty depressed about it. And in this case, before he joined the mafia or anything, for him, his life focus was on baseball. Like, if he didn't join the mafia, you can practically say that he could have gone pro for baseball, right? And here he's like, I'm in a slump. In terms of like how I'm doing in terms of practice and my scoring and all that, it's going down and I don't know what to do. And then Suna's just like, you know what, let me just tell him something. I don't know what to tell him. So I'm like, give a lot of effort, more effort, and you'll probably see yourself doing better. And that obviously perks up Yamamoto. So he's like, you know what, I'm going to go practice right after this. I'm going to keep practicing until I see better results. Next day comes, everybody is in chaos and everything because they're hearing about there's this student on the top of the roof and he's about to jump off and kill himself, and that's Yamamoto. So I'm like, bro, how you go from this very cheerful guy today and then tomorrow you go into this suicidal depression that you want to end your life? You have to remember that for Yamamoto, his entire life was circled around baseball. For him, this is his joy. This is something that he excelled in. And to find out that again, everything from him practicing, he's not doing well in practice. And then when he was training to try to get better, he injured himself. So he got a broken arm. So it's just like, that's it. I'm no good. Everything is looking pretty damn sucky for me. And so I'm just going to end my life. And it's just like, some people are like, yo, he's taking it to the extreme. But you have to understand, when you love something so much and to find out that you're no longer good in it, or you can't find a proper outcome, a positive outcome on how to solve it, and you're stuck in this rut, you feel like you have no other path to take. Some people can get stuck in that type of thinking. you know, and it can cause someone who was originally very cheerful to not be so cheerful anymore. They're a totally different person. So while everybody's trying to tell Yamamoto like, hey, come up, like, you know, get back over here, because the fence that he's on is actually rotting, and if you fall over it, you're gone, you're going to die. And then Suna's there, and he's like, what the heck, like, yo, I thought this kid was good, and the reason why he's like that is because of the advice he gave him the night before, and he's thinking it's my fault. So then he runs up and he's telling Yamamoto, you know, you and I are so different, which in that particular moment, if Suna didn't explain himself, Yamamoto took it the wrong way, thinking, oh, so since you've been popular recently, you think you know it all, you think you're a hotshot and all that, you don't know what I'm going through. Which Suna has to explain himself, saying, the reason why you and I are different is because you're the type of person who's capable of giving his all. I'm a pathetic person. I don't know what it's like to put my best effort in. Don't know what it's like to give it my all. I don't know what it's like to actually be interested in something and to genuinely love something that, you know, I can continuously work my best at. So compared to you, I have a lot of regrets. If it comes down to, without him actually really explaining what he's in, aka the mafia, and, you know, dealing with Reborn, he's like, the only time when I can actually give something my all is when I'm in a moment where I feel like I'm going to die. So I have to live with that regret. And really, every time you have something that you love, you should be doing it with a dying will. You should be giving 100% maximum effort. And then he tries to run off because he's embarrassed by what he told Yamamoto, but then he slips, so both of them fall off the edge of the school. And just before they die, Reborn shoots Suna twice with the dying will bullet in order to, you know, stop the momentum. And then he shoots him in the head with this type of bullet where a spring comes out of his head from his hair roll, and it turns into a spring, which makes them bounce off the floor. You know, the ridiculousness of the Daily Life arc is obviously ridiculous. Like, it was very comedic. If you just take in just like the things that they do in this arc, you don't get to see it in other arcs as much because it's not as funny or comedic when it comes to serious situations in later arcs. But in this arc, it's okay because it was meant to be more comedic. So he saves Yamamoto, and Yamamoto is very thankful for Suna, you know, saving him and giving him that piece of advice, you know, to do things with a dying will, or in other words, giving your all, your best effort. So to Suna, he thinks, you know, I gained a really good friend, but in Reborn's eyes, it's like, no, we just gained another family member. So you just gained 2 new family members for your mafia family, and he's on the road to gaining more people. So with Yamamoto's chapter, it was actually like there was a lot more to talk about versus Gokudera's, because it was more like Gokudera wanted to see what type of person he would be following, and not really in a friend way, but they do turn into actual friends in later chapters. But in this chapter, chapter 5 with Yamamoto, Suna went out of his way to help a person and actually gain, like, for the first time, a genuine friend. So with Gokudera, it's going to be a while before we see that type of relationship with him and Suna versus him and Yamamoto. But I'm glad for rereading these chapters to see that clear difference from the beginning and how it develops later on, because these guys are like a trio. The only time you don't see them together is when certain situations arise that has to happen separate, but these are like the 3 musketeers of Katekyo Hitman Reborn. So, you know, this was it for chapters 3 and 5 of Katekyo Hitman Reborn. Do tell me in the comment section how you felt about these 2 chapters. And then after this, I'm going to review the chapters that introduce like the other characters. So Hibari, Lambo, Ryohei, and then I think, what's his name? Shamal, Gokudera's sister Bianchi, and Haru. Those are important characters that will be introduced in this arc. And then after that, Longchamp, and then we'll get into the Kyoka line arc. So until then, check out the links, they're in the description box. And I'm Kimmy-chan of Anime Legends, and I will see you guys later. Bye!